So I think that's the first thing. You have to really look at yourself in the mirror and say, what is it that I'm trying to do here? What's the purpose of this? I think one of the obvious things to keep in mind, if you look at that second paragraph, is what I'm calling a deep curiosity. History is just, whether it's genealogy or family history, I should probably say something about those terms. Genealogy, of course, as I'm sure everyone in this room knows, is a way to look at one's lineage. But if you're doing a family history, that lineage is part of a bigger picture. And you have to ask yourself, well, what is it that I'm trying to do? Am I simply trying to construct a genealogical graph of some sort? Or do I want to figure out, along with that genealogical ancestral lineage, how my family functioned in all sorts of ways? What was my family's experience like within the society they lived in? Once you start asking those kinds of questions, genealogy and what I'm calling family history start to blend. And it's going to raise all kinds of issues that we'll get to over the next few pages. In that next paragraph, I use the term revised self-image. This can really cut a number of ways, and I'll talk about some of my own experiences with my own family history in a little while. But you go into the research and you think you knew your relatives, and you start to dig and probe, and what you begin to discover is, oh boy, I didn't realize this. Well, that could be a good thing, or maybe something a little more negative. I'll give you a quick story. My grandfather, on my father's side, is a World War I veteran. He was in the Navy. And in New Jersey, where I was born and raised, there was a parade that took place in a town called Lyndhurst, New Jersey. And after Grandpa died, my father and I were going through his things. And here I am in my early 20s, just really getting started in history. And I'm looking at this souvenir program. And there's James Eula, my grandfather, who's one of the soldiers and sailors that marched in the parade welcoming them home in early 1919. Then my father knows, he says, what's this? I said, I don't know. And he pointed to, there was a James Eula, I-U-L-A. We never heard that. Well, I was so curious, I started to probe a little further, and I saw his Navy discharge papers. So here I grew up thinking my grandfather is named James Eula, and yet on his Navy discharge papers, it had yet another name, James I-U-Lo, I-U-L-O. Where'd that come from? Now, I know Grandpa wasn't doing anything he should have been doing, so I don't think he needed to hide his identity. And I have to tell you, if somebody asked me, well, how do you explain this? I don't have an explanation, but I have three names for my grandfather, somebody who I was very close to growing up. So it's this kind of reality. I once had a graduate professor tell me historical research is like peeling an onion. You just keep peeling it and just more and more layers. And the layers just keep appearing, but you don't seem to get to the end of, or the core of the onion. So I think it's important that when we go into this, we have to try to put aside our preconceptions about our family. And of course, we all grew up with those. We think we know something as simple as a surname, and it turns out we really didn't. Which raises the obvious question, what else don't I know? What else may I find out, for better or for worse?